The next thing we're going to talk about is how to help get your leaps stronger. So we're going to start with tiny jumps because the power in your leaps come from your feet. So it's a really good idea to do these nice and tiny jumps across the floor as a warm-up, both parallel and turned out, because it's different muscle groups, different activations. Really focus on pushing off the floor. It's really, really, really important to make sure that when you are jumping, your heels land on the ground every single time you jump. Come back out in the center. Show me an example of a jump where your heels do not land on the floor. As you can see, her heels are not landing, right? A lot of people have this issue, short Achilles. So it's really important that you jump, push off the ground, land in a nice strong plie with your heels together. That will help strengthen your feet along with tendus and plies at the bar to help get your leaps more powerful. Another important and obvious component of leaps is flexibility. It's really important to understand the difference between active and static stretching. You should always actively stretch before you do any kind of static stretching. An example of active stretching is lunges across the floor. Taking your arms to a nice strong second. When you do these lunges across the floor, you really need to make sure that your knee is in line with your ankle and never, ever, ever past your ankle. That protects your kneecaps and builds the strength in your quads while also stretching your hip flexors. Now come out into the center. That's an example of an active stretch. An example of a static stretch would be a lunge in the center without movement. Nothing is moving, you're just statically stretching. This is something that you always want to do when you are completely warm. Extend your arm to the ceiling. This opens up. This is a nice, really open stretch for your back. Switch sides. Another example of good static stretching. And then, of course, the ultimate example of static stretching is splits, which should only ever be done if you are completely warm. And you want to make sure that both hips are square in a split, that you are pointing your feet, that your shoulders are also square. So show me an example of a fake split where you roll into you're sitting into your back leg, right? So come face the side for me, Ava. Good, so show them this is not a split because she is sitting into her right leg. Now show me an actual split. Really square off, push that back hip forward even more. Lengthen your feet, stretch, 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 stretch that front foot. Good, and rest. Another important element of your leaps is your back strength and flexibility. Not a lot of people focus on this because they don't understand that getting your leg up in a split in the air requires not only flexibility but strength. A great way to safely and effectively strengthen your back is through flat backs. So we're going to take our feet hip distance apart, slightly more. Tailbones drop, rib cage close, head, neck, and shoulders in line. She's going to hinge at the waist, really keeping her weight over the balls of her feet. At any time, she should be able to releve to know that she's not locking her knees and that the backs of her legs are nice and active. Strong arms, energy out from your shoulders all the way through your fingertips. This is option 1 for your arms. Option 2 is arms to the side. Option 3 is arms by your ears. If you're taking this option, which is the most advanced option, make sure that your arms don't drop, that they're right next to your ears, that they're lengthened, and you have energy from your shoulders all the way out through your fingertips. Lift your arms, Ava, slightly higher. Now, from here, we're going to plie. 1, 2, extend, 1, 2. Plie, don't hyperextend, 1, 2, 1. Better, plie, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Hold it here, take your arms to second position. Another option that you have here is front T. This is a little bit more advanced. So you're gonna plie, keeping your arms nice and strong. You're gonna release your leg back, straight behind you, making sure your hips are in line with the ground. So that right leg is extended right now, which means her right hip should be pointing directly to the ground. Your arms can be option 2. Take it back to option 1, which is arms by your side, or they can be option 3, arms by your ears. And this is a great way to actively engage your core and strengthen your back. In summary, the ways that you can work towards better leaps are small jumps that will increase the strength of your feet and will help you really get into your plie. So every time you do these small jumps, you have to make sure you're pushing through every single part of your foot and you're landing in a nice, deep, juicy plie with your heels to the ground, whether you're in parallel first or turned out first. Secondly, we have static and active stretching, always starting with active stretching. An example of that would be lunges across the floor, making sure that your knees are over your ankles, never past them, that you are really squeezing your glutes, really activating that core. And then static stretching would be something like a lunge in the center without movement, or a split, making sure that your splits are square always, your feet are pointed. And then of course, coming into your flat back to strengthen your back. She's gonna hinge forward, arm 1, arm 2, arm 3, and come up and rest.